after the holiday break here. We didn't do the post game because it was Christmas Eve, but we are back here to kind of smush it into a preview and a kind of reaction to the last week.
Who cares anymore? We're eliminated.
Right. True. Good point. This is WFNY BrownsCast, part of the Evergreen Podcast Network. I'm your host, Joe Gilbert. Once again, I'm here with Taylor Jedrzejek. How are you doing, Taylor?
Pretty good, all things considered. Apparently, COVID is going around my immediate family, so that's fun, fun and interesting.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, hopefully you avoid it here.
Yeah. Feel fine so far.
Yeah, it's definitely going around this whole, definitely going around Ohio too. So, this is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy as we make the transition here. First time depositors enter in the code WFNY, and Underdog will match up your first deposit up to $100. Underdog is a great platform if you're tired of the DFS salary system. There's tons of different games types, different sports every night of the week. Don't forget to use WFNY at checkout, and they'll match up the $100. That's Underdog Fantasy. Okay, so let's kind of get into last week or a couple days ago, 3 days ago.
Yeah, I don't know. Feels like about, considering it was Christmas Eve, it feels like it was about a week ago now.
It really does. It does. So the Browns lost to the New Orleans Saints 17-10. It was pretty much like a lot of the season has gone. The offense made too many mistakes, didn't finish drives off. There was penalties that were kind of killer to drives, and then the defense couldn't finish the half and couldn't kind of start the half, which is just it seems like it's been happening every week now. And that was pretty much the game. Special teams was okay.
They made a field goal.
Right, yeah. It was really, I thought it was going to be a bigger problem, and it really didn't. It was mostly just kind of the same game plan that teams have been beating the Browns. It's not a blowout or anything, but the Browns just can't get it done at the end of the game. Any thoughts on that loss, and now they're officially out of the playoff race too?
Well, I mean, the playoff race was
over, but yes.
Like the longest of long shots you could possibly imagine. Like
right.
you're working your way through a 27 step parlay at that point.
Right. They would be still in it though.
Yeah,
if they won.
if they had won, they still would have been in it because Tua got concussed and threw 3 picks in the second half.
Yes.
But that really wasn't the point anymore.
Right.
It was. I mean, I didn't watch all of it because Christmas Eve and mountains of Tennessee and wind chill and wind didn't really cooperate with Wi-Fi all that much. Yeah. But it was just kind of how things have been going. Like you said, it was they did enough on defense most of the game, but they didn't do enough on offense. And anytime you throw 3 touchdowns and none of them are caught, it's usually a bad sign.
Exactly. Yeah.
They didn't get enough out of the running game. Again. I mean, they ran for over 100 yards, but if you didn't run for over 100 yards on Saturday, you weren't moving the ball.
Right.
So, I mean, it was just kind of the team is who they are at this point.
Yep.
When you're not good at stopping the run, and then you lose your linebackers, you're not going to be good at stopping the run. It's not going to fix itself. Like, people who think that anything that they could do is going to magically fix anything right now are kidding themselves. Yep. It's like they are too depleted between having bad defensive tackles and having no linebackers.
No
They're
healthy
too
linebackers.
depleted in the middle of the defense to consistently stop the run.
Right.
So there's just not a whole lot they can do on offense. I mean, it wasn't going to be a day that they were going to move the ball a whole lot anyway. You'd like to be able to see more, but
offense seems like it's either one thing or another. Like it's never obviously the run game has struggled the last couple of weeks, but like this week I thought Deshaun played pretty well. And then the receivers couldn't catch. Like
yeah, I mean they were out there trying to catch a rock.
Right. True.
But it's still your job.
Right. Like, and this is gonna be happen. Like you play in Cleveland, you're gonna have to catch these things.
Yeah, I mean it's not often you're gonna have a kickoff temperature of 5,
right.
But
cold weather is.
It's stuff that they need to be able to handle, and they didn't handle it well. And I'm sure Njoku wants that play back. I'm sure Peoples-Jones wants that play back.
Yeah,
there's nothing that I don't think Amari Cooper could have done anything different. He just slipped.
Right. That
one really wasn't his fault. That was just bad luck, which is another sticking point of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost another game. They
just struggle at situational kind of gameplay. Like they just struggle when late in the game. They struggle. Late in the half, they struggle. It's just kind of one thing after another, and kind of builds up at the end, and you end up at the end of the game losing by 3-7 or whatever points.
Yeah, I mean
they've never lost. Blowout.
I don't know. I want to say most of their losses are probably by one possession.
Yeah, I think Miami
1 point, 3 points, 2 points.
New England are probably like the only two.
Yeah, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of your 9 losses by 8 or fewer points.
Right. Yeah, it's just it's frustrating. This season is just a season of frustration, I would say, because the talent is there. Well, at least for the most part. Injuries have kind of derailed this team, but it's just like they're like there, but then they just kind of don't kind of finish it off, and that's kind of been the season so far. But
yeah.
2 games left. We'll see.
I mean, they're not games that they should lose.
Right.
These are winnable games.
Yeah.
Washington is not a world beater by any stretch. I don't think that the way they play is something that the Browns deal with well. They are very much a running team.
Yeah.
So
the sad part is like these two teams are still playoff contenders and the Browns aren't. Which, like, if you look at their teams, like it's. I said it after I tweeted after the Steelers won on Sunday. Like it's amazing how great Mike Tomlin is, because if you look at that roster, like that team should not even be close to the playoffs. And
I mean, they still really shouldn't be.
Right. But like Mike Tomlin is such a great coach that they're still somehow alive.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that averages 17 points a game.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so before we get to Washington, let's just talk about kind of the scuttlebutt after the game. So there was a report that Stefanski is safe, which we all expected on here at least.
Yeah, it would. Again, I texted this to a friend, and this could be something we could debate real quick. I don't think there would be, at this point, unless something horrific, horrendous, like totally unforgivable happens in the last 2 weeks of the season. At this point, I think of all the things that the Haslams have done since they bought this team, firing Stefanski right now would be the biggest mistake they've made. And that includes drafting Johnny Manziel.
I would think it's pretty cool. There's been some bad ones, so it's very hard. It's like
it's hard to like.
It's hard to rank these things, but yeah, it would be. I said it last week. It would be just. It was. I compared it to Hugh leaving him, letting Hugh Jackson remain for his third season. I thought it would be if they cut bait with Stefanski this year. I thought it'd be worse than that decision. So we're definitely in agreement there.
Yeah.
But it does. The report also did say that they expect to make changes throughout the coaching staff, though. Interesting was obviously we know the defense needs a complete overhaul. I would say.
Yeah, that just needs to.
Yeah. Not much you can keep on that.
You just need to hit the dump button and and figure it out all over again.
Right.
But there's too many talented people on the defense.
Way too many
to be this bad.
Yeah.
They obviously need defensive tackles, but the rest of the defense, when they're fully healthy, there's a lot of talented players there.
Right.
I think even Grant Delpit has shown some signs in the second half of the season. I think Ronnie Harrison has not. He's probably on his way out.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Greg Newsome has been pretty good. Denzel Ward has had his moments.
Yeah.
The other guys you'd want to judge on the defense or on the linebacking core, and all of them are hurt. So
right, exactly. Yeah, like it.
Taki was finally finding a role, and he got hurt.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that was disappointing. A lot of disappointing things because of the injuries, but yeah, this defense shouldn't be this bad. To what it is now. So yeah, a complete overhaul on defense. But the kind of interesting thing that come out of the report, I think it was James John, I forget his name. He writes for Yahoo, I believe. Reported they might look to add more a coach or something or a mind that can kind of expand the offense a little bit. Better around Deshaun.
I hope that the second part of that statement isn't true, is that the only reason they're looking to do this is because Jimmy Haslam's watched Hendon Hooker.
Right.
All season.
That statement does not shock me.
No, it doesn't shock me, but it hurts me.
It does. Yeah, I don't know. It's I do like that I think he probably does need maybe a new I'm not sure what Van Pelt kind of does on this team.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you bring in someone else that's more of a passing game coordinator.
Yeah, like just getting a different mind in there can help you kind of expand your offense. Like you already have a great offense that builds off the run, but when you got Deshaun Watson, he's your best offensive player. Like you need to build around him. I know you want to build around the offensive line and the run game, but we've seen the last couple of weeks.
Even when you need to run the ball, if you don't, it's hard to really fault them for Saturday because obviously defenses were going to key on the run, and the Saints aren't bad at that. They're not a bad run defense.
No, yeah.
And the Browns are. So it wasn't a matter of Deshaun Watson not being able to throw. It was just the conditions didn't really allow it all that much. And they started their 2-minute drive with 5 minutes to go.
I know.
Because you couldn't there was no way to move the ball quickly downfield without a penalty.
I think they got to the 50-yard line by 2 minutes. It took that long to get down there. It was definitely a struggle. The Saints were lucky because they got the lead late in the second half, and they were able to only pass it 15 times. I think it was.
Yeah.
The Browns would have. That was the thing that also came out of it. People were so up in arms with how many passes they made and rushes, but like I think it was
How many balls did he throw on that final drive? Was it 12?
I think it was 11 or I think it was 11, but I think in the last the last 5 minutes, I think it was like 16 or it was like something like crazy like
Yeah,
amount.
but that's when you needed to do it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
obviously they were going to need to throw the ball. Like, you needed to go 70 yards in 4 minutes. You weren't going to be able to run the ball when
Exactly.
the defense knows you're going to run the ball. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, obviously there's people that are going to say, well, this is what you do best. Well, yeah, it's what you do best when the defense has to play both sides, and they didn't have to. Like, neither defense had to play both sides on Saturday. So
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of the summary. I just wanted to hit on. It would be nice to kind of get another kind of voice in the offensive room to see if they can pass a game. But yeah, I think it wasn't a lot of shocking stuff besides that wasn't really the Haslam stuff's not really shocking, but
yeah, I mean,
um,
it is kind of in a league wide perspective. It would be somewhat shocking to overhaul your entire coaching staff, but leave the head coach. And that's not me saying, oh, well, you might as well just get everyone out while you're there. Like, I think Stefanski should still be the coach. I think there might be some guys, like, obviously you're not going to fire Bill Callahan. You're going to keep him around. But it's a matter of, it's not something you see a whole lot of. Like, if there's wholesale philosophy changes like that, usually the head coach is going too. So it is in kind of an NFL league wide stand. It is kind of odd to have basically your entire staff turnover minus the head coach.
right.
That would be a very Browns thing to do.
That
I
was a
feel
good,
like it did happen after like one of the Hugh Jackson years. They shuffled through everyone and then kept Hugh.
yeah. It was the third year, I think it was, or I don't know if it was third year, but they added Todd Monken or whatever his name was, and
Yeah,
thought he could help him, and yeah, that that didn't work out. But
and Todd Haley, and that was great.
so yeah, so
Chris
yeah,
Tabor was in the background, like, I've been here since the Romeo Cornell era. Why am I still here?
exactly. Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting kind of situation to follow during the off season, but um, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. I don't think anything that happens in the last two games will kind of decide anything on coaching staffs.
I mean, if they go out and get blown out the next two games, it's going to be the talk is going to be loud.
Yeah,
Um, I think the things you want to see in the next two games,
don't quit.
aside from wins,
Don't
you want to
quit.
see Watson play well.
Yes.
You want to see the defense continue to force turnovers. They've been doing that pretty well the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz, the quarterback you're playing this weekend is Carson Wentz.
Yeah. Imagine if they were in the playoff race still. They're looking out on all these quarterbacks that they're facing.
Yeah. I mean, all you'd need right now to stay in the playoff, to still be in the playoff race, would have been one more win early in the season.
Yeah. Yep.
So that Jets game, there it is again.
It's going to be on the nightmares of our year. That's just came back to bite us, and we pretty much said it. It's gonna. It's probably going to come back to bite us, and it did.
Yep, and there it is.
Yep, there it is. Okay, so they head to Washington. They're done with the home games. 2 weeks left, so
Probably for the best.
Yeah, probably for the best. So they hit the road to go to Washington to play the Commanders, who are 7-7
and one.
Yeah, right. And 7-7-1. Yes. And they're still in the playoff race. That division is not very good, but
No, that division's really good.
The
Yeah.
conference.
Yeah, the
Sorry.
conference
Isn't very good.
outside like the top 5 teams, the conference is pretty weak.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, the conference.
NFC South is whatever they're doing.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So yeah, as you said, Carson Wentz will be starting for them. Their offense is already one of the kind of the weaker offenses in the league, and now Carson Wentz is kind of going for it, going at under center. He started the season as a starter, but he played so poorly, and I think he got injured too. He got benched, but kind of just what's your snapshot? We won't break it down as much as we usually do because the game doesn't really matter that much.
Well,
but what's your snapshot on Washington?
Knowing the coach, having watched him here for all those years, they're not going to be stupid. They're not going to be Greg Roman. They're going to see that the Browns cannot stop the run and that they have a couple good running backs.
Yes.
And Carson Wentz playing quarterback.
Exactly.
The quickest way for them to lose is for Carson Wentz to do whatever he did in Jacksonville last year in Week 18. So they're going to run the ball. We're going to see a lot of Brian Robinson. Is that his name?
Yeah,
Brian Robinson. You're going to see a lot of Antonio Gibson, I think is his name.
Yep.
The other running back. You're going to see a lot of those guys. And the Commanders are basically going to say, stop us. We're just going to run the ball. Just stop us.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Obviously, you have to respect the fact that they have 2 pretty good receivers.
They do.
They
just don't have a quarterback.
McLaurin and Dodson.
Yeah.
But they've only thrown like 15 touchdown passes all year, so it's not like they're
like they have very good receivers. They don't.
Yeah, their leading quarterback is Tyler Heineke, so like you're not going to get a whole lot out of that. They've been winning with their defense. Their defense has been pretty good, but it's not been infallible. Right. They gave up 37 points to Brock Purdy last week.
Right. They're a team that like they can win any game and then they can lose any game. Like it doesn't matter who they play. Like
they're only giving up 330 yards a game on defense, which is pretty high in the league. Good. But they're only picking up 355, which is pretty low.
Yeah.
So like that, and that's kind of why you're 7-7-1. Like you're exactly average. You've won 7, you've lost 7, and in the other game you finished tied.
Yeah.
They're just an average team, but a lot of that's coaching. They have solid coaching. And I mean, it's not a game that's going to be easy for the Browns because of their own deficiencies.
Yeah. You pretty much hit on everything. Their defense is definitely their strong suit. They can get after the passer pretty well. Their coverage is pretty good. So it's gonna be a tough one for the passing game, which I expect a lot more passing this week because it's I assume at least the weather here is pretty good.
The weather in Landover, Maryland this weekend is 58 with light breeze.
That's what I figured. Yeah, so it's gonna be good weather for whatever they want to do.
Yeah, like this is not a game where you can use the weather as a fallback. The last 2 weeks you could kind of use the weather as a fallback. The weather was okay on the 17th against the Ravens. It got rough towards the end, and then the weather last weekend was just abysmal. So there's not a whole lot you can take away from the Browns offense the last 2 weeks. I know that there's people that are saying that Jacoby Brissett scored more than 17 points in every one of his games that he started, and Deshaun Watson has yet to do that. but
I thought it was pretty impressive how he actually was able to throw through that bad weather last week.
yeah, he made
I
nice
was actually
throws.
impressed. I came away impressed.
He made nice throws. His one mistake throw got picked off.
Yep. Yeah,
but
that's the one thing he's gonna have to cut out. Like he didn't really have that problem. Like he was a low interception kind of guy, and but he's had one each game.
Yeah, I think that almost has more to do with them trying to install a quarterback on the fly. Like,
that's true. Yeah, definitely.
When you see your starting quarterback for the first time on December 3rd, it's tough. It's tough to get a solid read on what he's going to be at this point. And I know there's people that are down on him, and saw a text from a friend today that, granted, Steelers fan, but he was like, "Here's my tier list of quarterbacks, and tier 1 didn't, and tier 2, and tier 3 included guys like Geno Smith, but not Deshaun Watson." I was like,
okay.
I'm just not going to say. I was just like, I'm not going to say anything.
It's one of those things. Like,
anything.
As a Browns fan, you just can't really argue right now because it's just like all the stuff on his background and like what he's.
Yeah, like
everything.
I understand it, but like, dude.
Right. Yeah. It's just kind of one you just sit back and like whatever.
We'll talk about it next year.
Walk away. Yeah. Walk away. Talk to me in 2023. This game is pretty much these last 2 weeks actually are going to be pretty much just let's see what we got. Like let's see what we got in Watson. I would love to see more Jerome Ford.
At this point, like, why are we even running Kareem Hunt out there?
God, he was awful last week too. Like, if there was any question of him coming back, there is no question now. He has fallen off a cliff, bigger cliff than I expected.
Yeah, the only reason they bring him back now is because
no one wants him.
No one would want him.
Yeah,
like they might be able to get him cheap.
Just like his attitude this year, I don't think. Yeah, even if no one wants him, I don't think he'll be back.
Well, yeah, but I mean, maybe you get a different guy next year if you bring him back on a 1-year deal. But
yeah,
I mean, you're no longer franchise tagging him,
right? Yeah, it is kind of interesting that like we haven't seen Dearness Johnson at all. Like even like.
No, Jerome Ford seems to have passed him in the depth chart simply on his ability to return kicks.
True, yeah, but it's just like kind of interesting. Like we've all seen Hunt, like he's just not effective. Like he hasn't been effective all year. I think I would maybe point to one game that he was kind of pretty good at.
The first Cincinnati game,
right? Yeah, like other than that,
and the Panthers game in Week 1, he scored 2 touchdowns.
True. Yeah. Other than that, like he's been kind of. Like when he's taking Chubb off the field and he's in there, like it's a huge downgrade. Like it is.
Yeah, it's not been that way before.
Yeah, and it's killing the offense. Like there's times where you're just missing things. Like his I tweeted this during the game. Like his vision has always been a problem, but he had that athleticism and that burst and the power that to kind of override it. Now he doesn't, and it's definitely coming back to bite him now.
Yeah,
he's one of those guys I don't think ages well as a running back.
No,
but so yeah, I would hope. I'm hoping to see more Jerome Ford, more maybe Dearness Johnson.
I'd like to see a little bit of. I mean, a little bit more. He's been getting some run, but a little bit more out of Bell.
Yeah, David Bell, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, he had what 1 or 2 nice plays last week, but
yeah, time to just there's you got no playoff to kind of go for.
You got no weather to worry about. Yeah, just go play. Like go figure it out. Go knock the Commanders out of the playoffs. Go knock the Steelers out of the playoffs. Drag someone else to hell with you.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. it's
I mean, that's where you're at right now. If
right.
if I'm going to hell, you're coming with me.
Exactly. Yeah. So instead of, I know in the rundown I had keys to victory. Doesn't really matter what the keys to victory are right now. For
Keys
these
to
last
victory
games.
are scoring points. They haven't
Yes,
done a lot of that lately.
that's true. But let's, as I was saying, just seeing the guys. What are your things to want to see for this game?
I want to see.
What do you want to see?
I want to see at least 23 points. I don't think the Commanders are capable of scoring 23 points.
Especially not with Carson Wentz.
No, I don't think they're capable of scoring 23 points. So if you can get to 24, I'm not sure that the Commanders can win.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see 24 points even if they lose, but let's see, how many times have the Commanders scored 24 points this year? In week 1, they scored 28. They scored 27 on the Lions, but the Lions don't play defense. They scored 32 on the Eagles, and that's it.
That's incredible. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, if you get to 23, you have a good chance to win. Get to 23. You have the offensive pieces to do it.
Yeah. I just want to see a more expansive offense. Obviously, the last couple weeks have been shut down because of the or the weather.
Yeah,
Has
and
affected
there's
it.
something that, I mean, obviously there's people that are like, "Oh my god, he only scored 13 points in his one win." Like, the Ravens still play pretty damn good defense.
Yeah. Yeah. They
Like
won
that's
because of that last week.
yeah, like that's not that they won that game because they were able to capitalize on mistakes that the Ravens offense made, but the Ravens defense plays pretty well most of the time.
Yeah.
So, yes, they only scored 13 points, but they won.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's just be a fun game. Like, if they go out losing,
Be
but like
watchable.
scoring, yes, be watchable. Like the last couple of weeks have not been watchable. Well, not it hasn't been the most pretty game. Let's just say that. Like, let's go out there and score some points. And we already know the defense sucks and coordinator's gone. If you give up points, you give up points. Like, just
Yeah, I mean, none of the comments from the defenders this week have seemed super. We're on board with his return.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah, because Miles was like the only voice he kind of heard that like I'm behind him, and that's quieted over the last couple of weeks. So
Yeah,
I think the writing's on the wall, and I would be shocked if he's back. And
yeah,
it'll be quite a way. I don't know how they're going to explain their way out of kind of keeping him, but you never know.
yeah. I don't think you're kind of out of excuses now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like last season, you were kind of out of excuses before they had a good stretch at the end of the season.
I know.
But now you're out of excuses. Like
Right.
the only reason he came back is because they played like a top 15 defense like the last 10 weeks of the season last year. But
yeah, it sort of reminded me of Baker Mayfield's last 7 the year before.
yeah,
When he came into this. So yeah. Okay, let's get to the prop bets from last week. I did horrible, so you have expanded the lead. I went 2-7, and you went 5-4. We were both wrong on the Browns -3. You were correct on the under 31.5. It's crazy that they were still under that.
yeah.
They were on track to get over that because it was 17-10.
It was 17-10 at the beginning of the fourth quarter, I think.
Yeah, like I was like, oh man, this is easy, and then they just stopped scoring. And then over under 280 total passing yards, we were both correct. They had just combined 227. Alvin Kamara was under 90.
He hit his average, didn't he?
He hit 76. So I think it was 50. Wasn't it 57 or something? Or his average was, but he had a big game, obviously as a receiver too.
Yeah.
And he scored a touchdown. So, yeah, so we were both wrong on that. Deshaun, 210 total yards. He only had 159. You were correct on that. God, that's one of those kind of, if everything went well, he would have way over 210 yards, I would think.
No, yeah,
Uh,
because there
Catching the
was a few
ball.
catches in there that should have
Yeah,
been made, and he's probably closer to 200 at least.
yeah. Nick Chubb over under 90 rushing yards. We were both correct. He had 92, so just right over. And then 1.5 field goals made combined. It was 2.
There were no missed kicks,
That was very surprising too. Yeah.
no
So
missed extra points.
I that's what I thought there would at least be a missed extra point, but yeah, they made 2 field goals, so you were correct on that. Who leads the Browns in touchdowns? So it was Watson was the only guy who scored the touchdown. So we were
Yeah.
both wrong on Chubb, and we were both wrong on the prediction. Yeah, it was 17-10 Saints, and you had 14-9 Browns, and I had 20-13 Browns. So entering this week, we have 2 weeks left. I'm going to. There's 9 picks this week, and then we'll do 10 next week to make a nice round number. So I am 50-51, and then you are 56-45. So I need a hell of a week, a couple of weeks here to get the win or get the season win. But okay, so let's start with the line here. It is Browns plus 2.5.
This is tough because I think I'm gonna go. I'll take the Browns on the plus 2.5.
You're going Browns, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I've gone multiple. I just don't know how they're going to come out. It's one of those kind of they could play really well, or they just could just absolutely not show up and get trounced.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I'm not sure this Washington team is capable of trouncing.
True.
But
Yeah, Carson Wentz is pretty much a game changer, and because he's just so terrible. And like
yeah,
Heineke was playing okay, and he has like is dual threat.
I just hope Carson Wentz tries to do one of those stupid like, oh, I'm falling down, better just throw the ball things.
That would be nice. And I'm gonna go. Let's see. This is tough, man. I'll go. This will be different. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Washington.
Yeah, you kind of need to be different. You're down 6.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think Washington will win by 3 or so. Over under 40.5 points. I'm going under. I don't know. It seems very high, but what do you think?
I'll take the over.
You take the over? Okay.
Yeah.
It is. I am taking the perspective of it has been a past couple weeks have been terrible weather, so our over under has been very low. So I may be just thinking of that and not like 40 is not super high,
No, it's not.
really. So I'll go under. But I just think at least the Browns are kind of struggling as a up and coming, kind of developing offense, and then Washington is terrible.
Pretty
Carson
much, yeah.
Wentz. Okay, so I got these over unders from Underdog. So Deshaun Watson 245.5 total yards.
Well, it'll be the first good weather game he's played in a little since Cincy, so I'm gonna go over.
Okay. I'm gonna go under. Just be different. We're gonna try to do different ones for all of them. Yeah, 245 is. I think he's hit that once. The last since he started. So, I think they'll run the ball. And I just think the Washington's defense is pretty good, so I think it'll be a little bit tougher just in terms of who they're facing. So I think under, but it'll be around that number, I would assume. Nick Chubb, 81.5 yards, rushing yards.
I'm gonna go over. If the Browns want to have any chance again, he's gonna need to go over.
I'm going to go under because I think they're going to kind of hold him back. I know they haven't said anything, but I think they'll maybe spread it out more.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to see some Jerome Ford carries, like you said.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go under. I think they'll. I think we'll have a good running game, or at least a better one than what we've been showing. But I think it'll be a little bit more spread out. So that'll be my prediction. Watch, he'll get like an 82-yard touchdown the first play.
That would be vaguely hilarious.
It would be. Okay, Brian Robinson, 64.5. I think
Is way over an option?
I know. I think we're both going to be way over on that. I think
you might have been able to put that at 84, and I would have taken.
I know that they had that number on there. I was like, this is low, but hey, I'm going to go with what they say. But
I mean, unless they think they're going to run a lot of Gibson.
That's what I'm thinking.
Or if they think Carson Wentz being in the offense is going to matter because the Browns are going to commit to stopping the run, when they could commit to stopping the run and the offense could tell them that they were going to run the ball and it still wouldn't matter.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that might be the easiest one to predict there. Next one is Terry McLaurin, 61.5 receiving yards.
I'm going to go under on that. I think the Browns have actually done a pretty good job with number one receivers. The guy I would expect to have a day would be Dotson, because all it takes is one blown coverage up the middle.
True.
Logan Thomas doesn't have the speed to really take advantage of that. He's got the size, and we don't have anyone that can really cover him on the inside. But
yeah,
I think Dotson is more likely to have a big day.
Okay, I'm gonna go over. Just be different. Also, I think he's just really good.
Yeah,
I think if they do get behind, they'll pass it a lot, and McLaurin will probably be their number one guy to throw it to. So I'll just go over. He is pretty good at kind of those deep passes, and so maybe one play kind of gets him over, close to that. Okay, most receiving yards for the Browns. I forgot to add Fields, so we'll add that too. So it's Cooper, Njoku, Donovan Peoples-Jones, or the field.
Man, if it's any of the field, then good Lord. This feels like a Cooper
Even
week.
Bell game.
This feels like a Cooper week.
I know. I wanted to say something different, but I had actually was leaning that way too. We saw last week. I think they're starting to get going. Well, I'll just to be different. I'll go DPJ. And I think Cooper. They definitely seem like they're getting more familiar with each other.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see that. But okay, next one is who gets the most sacks, Washington or Cleveland? Like who? What defense?
I think the Browns. I think Carson Wentz is likely to poop himself in the pocket once or twice and fall down. So I'll go with that one.
I'll go with Commanders. Because they have a really good line or really good pass rush. And Browns' offensive line has been up and down.
Yep.
Like one week they can be really good, and next week they can suck. So I'll go Washington on that. And then the last one is our score prediction. What do you got?
I'm gonna go 21-20 Washington. That hits both the 2.5 and the.
I know. I was like, well, wait, didn't you take him? Yeah, you just. I like that.
I think the Browns will be leading late, and they'll be leading 20-14, and the Commanders will go down and score.
Okay, Washington 21-20. I like that. It's really good. Um, let's see. I'm gonna go Washington as I already predicted. Um, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 21-17. Um, Browns haven't got over the 17 hump yet, so I'm gonna keep it there. It's gonna be a close game, like all Browns games are, pretty much, except for Bill Belichick games and games and I guess games against the AFC South.
AFC East.
East, yes, East.
Except the Jets.
Jets. Let's not talk about that one anymore. It brings up bad memories. Yeah, I think we're both on the same page that it's probably going to be Washington. I just, it's one of those things I just don't know how this team is going to come out.
It's a bad matchup, too.
Yeah, it is.
It's a bad matchup for how the Browns are currently constructed given the injuries.
Yeah. Yep.
The biggest thing going for them is that they still have the offense. They still have an offense that should be able to score, and they're going against Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
But I don't think that the Commanders coaching staff is going to be stupid enough to let Carson Wentz dictate the game.
You would think. You never know. You always are surprised in the NFL. There's always some stupid decisions, but yeah,
I think the biggest thing that I want to happen in this game is that the Browns come away from that shitty, godforsaken piece of grass that they call FedEx Field without any knee injuries.
Exactly. That's another reason why I don't want to see Chubb. Like get miles away from that. Get Denzel Ward. Just like at least it's not like freezing cold and it's not cement out there.
Yeah, and it's not raining, so it's not a mud bog.
Right.
It should be fine. But
should make it.
That field has claimed so many knees.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, any final thoughts before we get out of here? Anything about the game? Anything Browns related?
Be watchable.
Yeah. That's basically what I'm going to say. Yeah. Be watchable. Don't. God, that game was hard to watch last week. Especially it was on Christmas Eve. Like you're losing my attention here, guys. Like
there's so much food being had right now that I'm sitting here watching you assholes.
Right. I know. I was at BW3 and I was like, this is like I'm just like watching other games for a little bit. I'm like,
I'm avoiding my family for this.
Oh my god. Yeah. So yeah, be watchable. Don't get hurt.
Don't get fired.
Don't get fired. Don't have a mutiny.
Yeah. Don't give Jimmy Haslam any reason to fire the entire staff. I don't think that's what we need right now.
Right.
Because I don't think there's a better option out there than what we have.
No. Sean Payton
is not coming here.
No, he's not.
That's not happening.
No.
Sean Payton is a vulture circling the corpse of what's left of the Chargers.
Also, wouldn't you have to trade for him?
I don't know.
I don't know. Like what? Any whatever. We're not going to get into this, but I feel like because he's still under contract, I would assume you have to trade for him. Which trading for a coach is just certainly a choice.
Yeah, I don't know what makes sense for Sean Payton at this point. Yeah. I think all the AFC coaches are pretty much set. I don't think the Texans or the Colts really appeal to him. I think the Raiders are going to give McDaniels one more year. I don't think the Broncos would appeal to him at this point. Well, maybe. If there's anyone that could fix Russell Wilson, it's probably Sean Payton. But
yeah. Man, I would stay far away from the Broncos.
Yeah, that's a mess.
Because like you can't get out of Wilson unless you do, and you just have dead money of like $50 million for the next couple of years.
I think if anything happens in the Sean Payton front, it's going to be McVay retiring for some reason.
That's a good one.
Or the Cardinals doing what they should have done last year and firing Kingsbury.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Ooh, that would be interesting. Kyler and
Because Sean Payton doesn't want to have to rebuild a team. He wants to have a quarterback and just go.
right.
So, and the Rams don't actually have a quarterback right now. I don't think Sean Payton is going to consider Baker Mayfield a guy he wants to go reclaim.
It'll be interesting to see what the Bucs do.
The Bucs just need to tear it down and start over.
Yeah.
They're just at a point where, like, if they lose this weekend to a Panthers team that is 6-9 and doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs,
Hey, beat the crap out of the Lions last week. I kept looking at the score. I was like, "Is this a real score?"
I looked at it at halftime and I was like, "Oh my god!" The Panthers ran for 203 yards in the first half.
That's your Lions defense showing up again.
That particular Panthers team had the most yards in franchise history. Yeah. Sam Darnold, Chuba Hubbard, Dante Foreman had the most yards in franchise history at 571.
Yes. When you trade away your best running back you've ever had, probably, or close to it, it's just funny.
And your quarterback is Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
So that Lions defense doesn't deserve to be anywhere near the playoffs.
No.
But the offense probably does.
At least their fun factor is a lot higher.
Yeah, they are watchable.
They're watchable. There are some teams, Browns, are not watchable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll be. I don't know what we're doing after the game, so we'll let you know. But look for us on our social media, and we'll let you know when our post game pod is. And yeah, thanks for joining us. Another edition of the WFNY BrownsCast, part of the Evergreen Podcast Network, and we'll see what happens on what day is it? Sunday.
Be watchable.
I know. Be watchable.
It's a low bar to clear.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Thanks for joining.